Hello everyone. In this video, let us try to understand what is Kubernetes storage. So, why we need Kubernetes storage? So, how Kubernetes will store the data into the database, and what kind of database Kubernetes it use, and is there any third-party services we need to use when you want to store the Kubernetes data? Whether it may be AWS storage or Azure storage or any kind of or on-premises storage or any kind of data center storage. So how actually the Kubernetes it uses the its data storage capacity. With that, we will just quickly start with the theoretical part of the storage of Kubernetes data. So any application you take, the storage of data is crucial. Even if you are deploying your application in any of the server, the data, how you are storing the data can be any kind of data, or it may be deployment data or application related data. So how do you store that, and where you store is very crucial part of the system. And when comes to the Kubernetes, it always do the persistent data storage. So now the question comes, what is persistent data storage? How the persistent data it works? The name it indicates, when you say the persistent data, the persistent data is nothing but whenever you are restarting the system, or when your system crashes, so that time, even that time, your data will be persisted. That means your data will be always available even in the downtime. That's why we call it as a persistent data. When you say persistent data of the Kubernetes, even when the Kubernetes restart the system, your data will be available. When it comes to the Kubernetes, also the Kubernetes, it supports lots of types of storage from the lots of different places. That means it supports the block storage, file storage, object storage from the variety of systems. That can be cloud, on-premises, data center, or it can be any kind of cloud providers. So how it will store, how it exactly works in the Kubernetes means it based upon the volume subsystem. So how Kubernetes it uses the volume subsystem? What is the meaning of volume subsystem? So volume in the sense any kind of data storage, it can be Azure or it can be AWS provider or it can be any data center. When you exposing that data to the Kubernetes services, that is nothing but a volume. So the now question is how volume we can create. So volume can be created in the Kubernetes by using a container surface interface. So now what is container surface interface? So container surface interface is nothing but it is an interface. It connects between your Kubernetes platform and Kubernetes services with the external data storage provider. So with the container surface interface only we will connect to the external. So everything will earlier before coming to the container surface interface, everything were merged inside the persistent volume subsystem. That means everything were merged in the Kubernetes. So that time it was very difficult to uh, handle the storage of the data and the Kubernetes. That means there will be like database administrator and the Kubernetes administrator. So whenever there is any patch or any issue fixes in the database side, so there will be changes and deployment has to be done at the Kubernetes system as well. So to overcome this complete merge between the Kubernetes and the database things and the plugins in one package, the Kubernetes it's now segregated between the database and the Kubernetes subsystem. With the Kubernetes services and the database, it is segregated between those two via the plugin layer, that is the container surface interface. So container surface interface, it connects between the your Kubernetes system and the database storage. So database storage can be AWS Elastic Block Storage. All required is a plugin KATS. So container surface interface, this is an interface that connects the external storage and the Kubernetes. Modern plugins are based on the container storage interface. So now when it comes to this we have understood what is the storage backend. It can be any kind of AWS or any kind of data centers. With this also we understood it's a plugin layer. This is a container surface interface. It connects between the container, your Kubernetes, and the database. Now when comes to the Kubernetes, inside the Kubernetes service, we have three types of objects. What are these three types of objects to connect to the external database? That is a PV, PVC, and SC. What is this PV? This is a persistent volume and persistent volume claim, and SC is nothing but storage class. So persistent volume, it is just a representing the external storage assets. So we have nothing to do with the persistent volume when we are working practical things. So PV is just a representing the external storage. That means this PV, it represents the external storage AWS, it represents the PV. Now we only deal with the PVC and SC. So how pod will connect? Your Kubernetes pod, it connects to the PVC, not PV. PV, again I am repeating, PV is just, it represents the storage backend. So when it connects to CSI connects between the Kubernetes and the AWS or any kind of data storage. That PV, persistent volume, it represents the storage backend. So now what is PVC claim? PVC claim is a pod, it connects to the PVC claim, and storage class, it automates the things. So that means how automates the things, how we can create a YAML, we will just see in the next slide. So these three are core API resources in the persistent volume subsystem. What is the usage of storage class? Example, you have two tiers of storage. Example, you have the flash storage in the AWS or Azure and slow archive storage. So we will create two storage classes. One is SC fast and SC slow. Using storage classes, things will be automated. So now coming to the how storage classes can be created. If you see our YAML file, first we will create a storage class, API version, and the kind we will provide the storage class, and the metadata, this is the storage class name we will provide here, and provisioner. What is this provisioner? Is nothing but this is an CSI, container system interface, which we have seen in the slide. So what is the provisioner name we will create? It can be AWS provisioner or Azure provisioner, it can be anything. You can change based upon the cloud provider or if it is an on-premises data center. And coming to the parameters are, it's all purely depends upon what kind of database external storage you are going to use. That parameters data we will be providing in the parameters. Now storage class we created, we no need to create a subsystem storage volume, that means SC, the previous slide. The SC is not required. What is this SC is nothing but what we have seen PV, persistent volume, it just represents the storage backend. We are not creating, we are just creating a PVC and SC, persistent volume claim, and the storage class. So first we will be creating the storage class, then we will be creating the persistent volume claim. So this is the storage class. We have seen how to create. Inside the storage class we will provide the provisioner name, what kind of provisioner we are using. Once the storage class creation is done, you take the name of the storage class. The storage class name is standard storage. Now you create a volume claim. This volume claim, the kind is nothing but the object of Kubernetes is persistent volume, and the API version v1 schema we are using, and the metadata name, volume claim name is my volume claim. So here we need to mention the storage class name. First we have to create a storage class. This is the storage class name, and then we have to create a persistent volume claim. Inside the persistent volume claim we need to create the storage class name. This is the storage class name. The standard storage is the storage class name. If you see here, storage class, that is the storage standard, right? So this SC name we will be creating here. It's a standard storage. So whatever the name you have given in the storage SC, that is nothing but the storage class name. That class name you need to provide here. Once the persistent volume claim is ready, this persistent volume name we need to give it in the pod. So this pod here, in the pod we will be creating a one spec, that is a volumes. The name of the volume you can give anything, and the persistent volume claim name you need to give. So what it happens, this pod, it will directly connect to the this volume. What is that? Based upon the claim, persistent volume claim. So your pod, it connects to the persistent volume claim. This is a volume claim name. Here my volume claim. So this internally connects to the storage class. Storage class, it connects to the your external database. So now just to repeat the things, the pod, inside the pod you just give to the volume name. This volume, it indirectly connects to the external storage. It may be AWS, Azure, or any external on-premises data center. So pod is connecting to the external database by volume. So this is how our Kubernetes stores the data. This is persistent because even if your pod restarts, or even if your pod recreating the data, it will be there in the external system. So external system, it is again pointing to the pod via the volume. If you have that's all about today's things. It's a Kubernetes storage system. If you have any doubts or any questions, you can just feel free to post it in the comment section. Thank you for watching.